So someone who starts their podcast now asked me, okay, so how did you get where you are? And then are comparing themselves with me now. I'm like, well, I've done this for 7 years now. I think we have to be very, very conscious about the mistakes we are willing to make and which ones are just costing time and money and are useless. I hired top designers and got a website before I had the first product. Because even blog and text you can have a copywriter for that or AI. But on video, you cannot cheat. That's you. And that's how you build trust. What I find interesting is a distinction between is someone a freelancer or a entrepreneur. So do they trade time for money or do they build something where they can make money while they sleep, basically? I'm a bit disappointed. When I hear unprofessionalism and I see you, I thought that you would do something that is more off-road. So I ditched that and then...
Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome to the Solo Source podcast. My name is Joeri, and on this episode, I have honest conversations with people who work for themselves, sharing stories, sharing lessons learned along the way, and maybe even a couple of ideas you could take with you on your solo journey. In this episode, I'm joined by Myriam Hadnes, who is a behavioral economist turned facilitator. She founded Workshops Work, has a very successful podcast. We get into how her background in academia got her into facilitation, what it was like leaving behind a top performing podcast with over 300 episodes, and why Myriam is so big on unprofessionalism. Anyway, I think you're going to absolutely love this episode. So let's do this. I'm very happy that we've turned the tables, because last time we were in this setting, you were behind the steering wheel of the conversation, and we talked about facilitation and workshops and things like that, right? And creative things.
I think the topic was you don't need a workshop.
That's right. Yeah. That's what we talked about. Don't lead with the workshop. Myriam, for the people who don't know you, because I know who you are and I know what you do, who are you and what do you do?
I was hoping that you wouldn't ask the question.
That's exactly the question I was going to ask.
How much time do you have? When I introduce myself, I start with I'm a recovering academic. So I spent half of my life inside of universities. I'm a behavioural economist and then turned facilitator without having planned it. Started a podcast, Workshops Work, because when I pitched myself as a facilitator, the response I got was, what?
Yeah.
So I spent 355 weeks on interviewing facilitators, what it is that makes workshops work. And I'm retiring the podcast as I'm focusing on unprofessionalism, how to bring humanness back to work and to look behind the label that restricts us. On the more air quotes serious side of things, I run an agency where we deliver training programs and so-called soft skills, leadership skills, feedback, psychological safety to multinational companies in up to 15 languages.
Do you do all 15 of those, Myriam?
No, I have a team of 18 associates.
Yeah.
And whatever question comes in, we can cover it. And I think we have delivered maybe 250 workshops this year.
Very cool. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, quick one. If you are enjoying this episode, I would really appreciate it if you leave a like, you leave a comment, or you share this episode, but someone needs to see it or hear it. Anyway, let's get back into the episode. I like that you said associates for the people listening, because now you're on the in crowd. If you're listening to this, you're kind of on the inside. I've been working with a group of friends for the last 15 years. Some of them are ex-colleagues, ex-clients and stuff. They all do their own thing. But when I talk to clients, I always call them associates because it sounds more expensive. It does, because if you say, I've got to bring in a couple of friends, nobody's going to take you seriously. So you say, well, we have a team of associates or consultants or something. Do you find the same?
They're not on my payroll, so they're all freelancers. And still they're part of the team. They communicate with each other. We communicate, and it's more than just sending them to deliver a workshop. We are a little community. Yes, I built a community and closed it, never done before. That's also part of me. And the best facilitators from this community, I just recruited them. Said, okay, let's make money from there.
Perfect funnel. We started talking about facilitation. You have a PhD in behavioural economics, if I remember correctly. How has that shaped you to what you do now? Because that's a bit of a shift. And were people disappointed that you spent all this time getting an academic degree and you're doing something which I think is more applicable, maybe a bit more practical? Maybe I'm wrong?
Yeah.
Tell me about that change.
Funny enough, I think my entire work now is shaped by my training. So I look through the lens of behavioral economics in whatever I do, which is basically what drives human behavior, what drives our decision making. It's all about human dynamics and different motivations and the impact of culture and so on. And I think even back then, when you're in academia, you're like an entrepreneur. You're spending most of the time developing an idea and then trying to sell it. The only difference is that the value of the idea is a public good, so you don't get money, but you get publications, prestige, status, and eventually tenure. And I didn't like the competition in it. It was too rough for me. I loved what I was doing. It was very applied, so I ran field experiments in Namibia, Burkina Faso, and several places in Vietnam. Yeah, I loved it. But then at some point, I wasn't in for the pretending that it's changing the world, the research that I'm doing, because it's not.
How did you figure that one out?
How?
Yeah, so how did you come to that conclusion? Was it a bit of a shattered dreams, or was it just you kind of figured out, okay, some things work, but these things don't?
Yeah, I realized that I was missing the lightness of it, and the topics I'm interested in, they were always more on the edge. I was always running a bit off-road. So my PhD was about the impact of witchcraft beliefs on economic decision-making for small-scale entrepreneurs in Africa.
Sorry, you say witchcraft?
Yes.
Or witchcraft?
No, witchcraft. Yeah, so it was all about voodoo. And then about the impact of family solidarity systems and how they harm the expansion of small-scale entrepreneurs. So fun topics, but not the world economy. And then I so I lived in Vietnam for 3 years, where I was doing a postdoc and also teaching a bit. And from there I got a job offer in Luxembourg that would make me leave the research part and focus on higher education strategy. And I took that offer, and that's basically what led me into facilitation.
Do you remember what was kind of the first facilitation thing you did?
The first facilitation thing I did was my boss back then, he invited the top university professors to build small think tanks, groups to think about the university strategy. And it was the first meeting, and we wanted them to brainstorm to get to know each other. I started, and my boss and I still don't know how I convinced him to do that. We started by breaking the group of professors into groups of 3, and we gave them 15 minutes, and everyone had 3 minutes to speak, answering the question, who am I and why am I here? And then receiving 1 minute of positive feedback from the other 2, and then switching. So the most touchy-feely thing you can imagine. The first time we did it with the first group, my boss introduced it as, okay, Myriam will now introduce you to an activity that you will do, and well, I invite you to just lean in and see what happens. The second time we did it, he introduced it. Myriam is going to introduce an activity, and you might think that it's weird, and I just assure you, lean in and do it because it's amazing.
By the way, completely putting it might be weird on people's minds. It's like saying, look, I don't want to insult you, but...
But at least he let me do it. And it was really amazing to see how the group shifted, and they got to know each other, and then eventually started collaborating on this bigger vision for the university. It's nice.
Very nice. And I asked you before about kind of your academic background. What is the one thing you learned from your academic background that really helps you now? Is it a way of thinking? Is it a model? Is it a mindset? Or is it what?
I think it's the way of approaching everything as a hypothesis. If I design a workshop, I have the hypothesis of a certain outcome, and then I basically design activities that get people to interact in a way that will lead them to this outcome. And that's what I did in the research, and that I continue doing. It's basically a form of manipulation.
But it's wonderful. You say so manipulation sounds very negative, but I think this whole kind of testing mindset is so important in, I think, a world that is feels a lot more sure about what they do, which I think is a problem.
Yes. And you know what? And I think it has actually shaped me more beyond the workshops. Everything that I do in my business is an experiment. For instance, I remember when I started Never Done Before, it was the beginning of the pandemic. I just lost all of my clients. When I woke up, I repeated the mantra, today I won the lottery. What would I do if I had? Just to get the anxiety out of my system. I eventually thought, okay, I will host a festival that I will call Never Done Before. I was thinking of the IKEA effect from behavioral economics that says that people get attached to things that they have created themselves. I invented a design pass and invited people to pay 20 euros to be part of the design of the festival. So we had calls where we would just throw out ideas and connect and discuss how such a festival could look like. People would get attached to the idea and build it together, and then promote the final product of the festival to their friends that I sold for, I think back then it was 600 euros for a ticket.
Because it was their baby.
Yeah, applied economics.
Very clever. And I like that testing mindset. You know what people talk about VUCA times? I learned that word only the phrase a couple of years ago. It's an acronym. Is it volatile, uncertain, complex, and
ambiguity?
Volatile?
Ambiguity.
Sorry?
Do you want to say it again?
Ambiguity. Ambiguous?
I mean,
yes. Because VUCA, we totally did not look this up. VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. In a world like that, I am skeptical of very sure black and white answers. You see this in politics. People gather behind one candidate or the other with full certainty. And I'm always like, let's see what they do. Keep that open mind. It's the same with work, same with building something. I think it is, at least.
Yeah, and otherwise it's just a replication of what everyone else does, right?
Probably.
If we give up the experimentation mindset.
I think so, yeah.
My superpower and my biggest problem is that when I have an idea, I just want to do it immediately. I usually do. I break things. What I learned is that, and I usually include everyone. Oh yeah, everyone can join the party. I'm trying out something. Who wants to come along? This created some chaos, lots of misunderstanding, lots of spamming. But somehow the people who stuck around, they love being included and seeing what's happening and then learning along. So I think for me, just starting somewhere and seeing, because usually once you've finished making a plan, it has changed anyway. For instance, I'm retiring my podcast, so 355 episodes, because I want to start a new one. I would just rebrand it. I will stack the new episodes on the episodes under a new name. And then what will I do with the old ones? I don't want them to catch dust. So I heard of Substack, and that on Substack you can have paid subscribers and you can upload all the old podcast episodes and it won't update on the new ones. I was like, great.
Perfect.
I do a podcast club. So I announced it. I have a podcast club. I have no idea what that means. We'll somehow use the old episodes. We have maybe a call per month. And I just announced it. I have the first 2 paid subscribers now. Not much money, but they're kind of curious to see what will come up. And they paid me, $50? For me, it's not about making money, but it's about what can I learn in this process and what kind of business model is there along the way. If they pay 50 euros and nothing happens, they won't complain. But now I have them on board and I can discuss with them what it is that they would like to have. And once we have a product, I can think about the price.
I love that, because I used to be very bad at that. I've learned over the years to get better at that. So I was much more of a, let's get something kind of not perfect, but I'm not a perfectionist per se, but let's get something. I was thinking too far. I would create something. I was like, I should have, this is like version 19 already. I should have done version 1, get some money. And I've learned to be a lot better. Are these things that you can learn? For some people, it seems incredibly hard. They're so wedded to getting it right.
Mm-hmm.
How do you slap that out of people?
I think it's pretty hard. Posting my first article on Substack cost me 3 days. Right? Recording my first podcast episode for the new podcast, I was nervous, as if it was the first thing that I've ever done. Doing it and realizing that actually nobody cares. And I think it's a little bit like learning to ride a bike. Don't start with a big bike, start with a small bike. Don't start with a scooter. So if you fall, and you will fall, there's a little scratch and nobody sees it. I first thought, I import all of my subscribers into Substack. So suddenly I had this number 6,000 next to my name on Substack.
Yeah.
I felt proud for a moment, and then suddenly, fuck. Now, whatever I post, I will spam them all. They haven't given me their consent, and there's no place to hide. So while it kind of felt good at first, I then went in and deleted all of them again. And now I know those who do follow, they know that it's new and that it will be kind of wobbly in the beginning. How can we create or assemble a group of peers around us who will love us anyway? Yeah, we can experiment around that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think you should totally use and abuse your friends. For anybody listening, absolutely. Like, network. I started this podcast going, I have a half-baked idea, kind of what I want. I want to talk about people who work for themselves. That's kind of it. Just stories, conversations. Where do you start? Start simple. This is a subscription to Riverside. Was at $150 a year. or whatever you use, doesn't matter. Pick a platform, think through the podcast. I know what I want to talk to you about. So that's what I do. Some people like to have standard questions, up to you, but just get a couple of out there. And, like Myriam just said, nobody cares. If it's a crap episode, people just not going to listen. You're not going to get fired. You're not going to be attacked by anybody. It's just, nobody's going to hear it.
And the good thing is the algorithm picks it up. If nobody's interested, nobody will even see it. It's very low.
So this is your opportunity to experiment more, because those early versions that aren't very good, in the beginning, nobody's going to see them anyway. And by the time it does pick up, those will be fun things you can share, saying, hey, check out my first episode where the sound was terrible. I wasn't very good. I was super nervous. It's all part of that journey. It all makes you.
Yeah.
I think so.
And I think we usually make the mistake that we compare our current us with the 10 years ahead person. So someone who starts their podcast now asks me, okay, so how did you get where you are? And then are comparing themselves with me now. I'm like, well, I've done this for 7 years now. The one time that I did not follow my own experimental kind of thing was when I thought I will start courses, online courses, live online courses. And I spent so much money in design, in getting a team, in designing the content, in having a nice platform and Miro boards and all of that, and a website. I think we sold 2 courses. We filled 2 courses. And at the end, I think I had a big black 0.
Yeah.
Not accounting for my time.
We forget about that. I think when you work for yourself, you forget about, you also spend a lot of time putting something together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can that one?
Yeah, I put it into the box, learning money, will not do courses anymore. And even more than that, I won't do B2C anymore. So I'm not selling to individuals. And that gave me so much freedom and headspace, because now the subscription, I don't even see it as a business. It's a hobby. It's an experiment. And otherwise, I only focus on large companies. So when I'm on social media, I don't want to sell to anyone. And that has also changed, given me more freedom.
I think that makes sense. It's a very different mindset. It takes off a lot of the pressure. But why though? So why did you move away from a B2C, as in selling or trying to reach individuals, to business?
I was tired of being the mummy to everyone and trying to sell. Seeing everyone as a potential client, I found this tiring and realized that it would hold me back on showing who I really am. I think it was Leanne Hughes, the first time she met me in Australia. We got drunk on spritz. And she's like, Myriam, you're actually pretty cool.
Actually.
Because she only knew me from the podcast and from my social media image. And I'm the kind of person who never curses, and there's so much space and creating psychological safety. And there's another version of me who loves to curse. And I've met Leanne also now that I stopped drinking, and she still thinks that I'm pretty cool. It wasn't just the spritz. Yeah.
Have you stopped swearing as well? Fuck no.
No, hell no. So I wanted to be myself, and then seeing everyone as a client or potential customer doesn't help with that. At least for me, it didn't. And I also realized that the money I was making with corporate clients was significantly higher. It's the 80-20 rule, right? I spent 80% of my time trying to make individuals happy who would complain and send me emails because of 15 euros, while not having enough time to actually look at my lucrative business, see what works, and trying to expand that. So yeah, I've been doing this now for the last year. That's great.
I can see that. I like that change. Do you have a bit of a horizon? Are you one of these people that has in 5 years, 10 years or something, or what does that look like, and how far ahead is that? How clear is it? How often do you refer to it?
I love that. When you were in my wisdom circle, my advisory board, I think I was still in the phase like, don't ask me about next year or 2 years. It just freaked the shit out of me. I could not have a 5-year strategy. I just couldn't go there. This has changed. So I now can see, I've now built the systems and automations and the team that I can scale the business with the agency. I want to onboard 1 new client next year, another 1 or 2 the year after, so that I can at some point retire and still have the business and a regular income. Then I don't have to think about my pension plan now. So I'm building a business as a pension plan, basically. And that's very new and feels good.
So you live in the Netherlands, you've been here for a while. The Netherlands, by the way, is similar to Germany, as far as I understand. If you work for yourself, it can be very hard to, for instance, get a loan from the bank. Most people here will not give you a loan anymore. And the sad reality is because people who do choose to take their own path as a self-employed something, very often will have to look after their own pension, whatever that means. Does that worry you? Because I think that is one of the things that's stopping people from doing their own thing. They want to do their own thing, but then they go, yeah, but the job and the pension and...
Yeah. No, the short answer is no. I think in this sense, it was always a blessing that I didn't have this long-term vision. I cannot think long-term. I'm a very present-focused person. Since I started my own business, I've been thinking about investing in a pension, getting a pension plan. But then every time that I sit down to think about it, I realize that the best investment I can make is in myself and my business. And then it will pay off in the future. So I am my pension plan. I hired my first VA before I could afford her. Within 3 months I could, because she gave me the sense of purpose of really trying to make money. She took things off my plate so that I could focus on making money. I set the intention, okay, this is a business. Very often early on I hired experts who would help me in the way and invest in my business to avoid the unnecessary mistakes. I think we have to be very conscious about the mistakes we are willing to make and which ones are just costing time and money and are useless.
Particularly the outsourcing bit is so important because, yeah, we talk about being a solopreneur, doing things yourself. I don't do everything by myself, obviously. I outsource things. And even yesterday, I had a bit of a last minute project that came up and we were going to, my wife and I were going to fly to Singapore and basically it overlaps, had to change the flights and rebook hotels and this and this. And it's something in Germany, which I'm doing. But basically, so my wife works in social media. She's a big global role for them. And she just wanted to take a break from her work. And we sat down together and she helped me list, finding hotels, booking cars and stuff like that. So even that, and that's just my partner. But I also have a designer who works on this. And when I say I have, they're not full-time employees. They're usually a network of people. They're the freelancers. They're people I pull in from time to time. And I think the sooner you can do that, as in the sooner you can do this. But the reason I'm saying this with a caveat is because some people will overinvest in those things when they're not necessary. So if you're making shit all money and you don't have anything in the bank and you go, let's go hire a designer for $5,000, I'd be like, maybe start with a Squarespace template and just do your website first yourself. When do you invest? When do you put money in?
I hired top designers and got a website before I had the first product.
You did exactly what we were just talking about.
Funny enough, for me, this was important because for me, the website was kind of a business card. So I thought if I'm approaching these potentially high-paying clients, I want them to, because the website is basically just a way to show, okay, is this a real business? Does it look like someone I can trust? And I wanted something that if people click on it and are like, oh yeah, this looks solid. That's what I built. Back then I was selling workshops. I had actually no clue what I was doing. But then also I had a business coach and he taught me everything about lead magnets and building lists. So I had a lead magnet that looked fantastic and built my list and started sending out the newsletter and doing the podcast, although I had no idea what I would sell my list.
Yeah.
But I think this actually helped building trust. So I built relationships in my air quotes followers over the last 7 years because I rarely asked them to buy from me or to do something for me.
I think I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think it is with the website, people do need to see that you're legit and stuff, but the website in itself, I wouldn't overthink it too much. If I could give anybody any advice, whether you're a dog groomer or a whatever, like a sports coach, don't overthink it. Think about a landing page, make it look nice, pick a couple of colors that work for you, fonts, have you one call to action. Do you want people to sign up to your newsletter? Do you want people to call? Like, what do you want? I usually start on that side and then the rest becomes a lot easier. What I have seen people do is over-design and over-invest in things which I don't think move the needle per se. And then...
Yeah. And I think instead of investing in the hundreds training, invest in a website. Invest in something that people can see. Because training is nice, but it only... do you really need it? Do you need it for your clients or do you need it for your confidence? Or is it just a hobby? Or is it a distraction from actually doing the work?
I'll give you an example. 80% of my work comes from people I know. That comes from people that worked with me so many years ago and are now saying, I used to work with company X, now I'm with company Y. do you remember me? I now do this. I've got a similar problem. Can you help us? And I realized nobody looks at my website. Nobody looks at my LinkedIn. Nobody even goes to my YouTube channel. These are people I already know. So for that audience, and that's the Magic Sauce creative agency side of things, the best thing I can do is just reach out to people, give them a call, go for a coffee. If I'm in Berlin, I'll hit up people. That alone is, for me, that's more than enough. And I'll invest money in that.
If there's one thing that I would advise my younger self is keep in touch with the university friends, those who didn't go for the academic route, but who went to the McKinseys and the big companies, because they are now in positions. When I see them on LinkedIn, they are now in positions they could perfectly hire me, but I lost contact. So I did not stay in touch with them. So when I started my company and going solo, I was lucky enough that I had one client whom I met through my previous work. So that was a big facilitation project, but otherwise I had to start from scratch. Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because as you were talking about your email list, I got really envious, and envious in a very positive way. I love that you've built a really good email list. I love you've established yourself very well, and it's good you had somebody there from the beginning to teach you about lead magnets and stuff. Takes time. Good things take time. Isn't that a German?
Yeah, good Ding will Weile haben. And I think, so there's the one magic sauce that works for all. We all have to mix it ourselves. But what I do believe in, that it boils down to care and courage. If you care for the people around you and you care for delivering high quality service, you give them value for their buck, and you have the courage to do things maybe differently and to experiment, it will work out. But when I see some people who think that they can make a quick buck by, oh, Myriam, you built a community, you had a lucrative community that paid for itself and even paid a dividend. I want to do the same. And then they think just...
Yeah, like a switch.
Yeah. And I think that's it's not how it works.
No, it takes time. It takes experimentation. It takes putting yourself out there. It takes getting humbled, realizing when you are wrong or that you're on the wrong track. I've had a couple of those. Have you had any kind of pivotal moment in your life where things really shifted? I know we talked about academic to going to training facilitation and stuff. Has there been any moment that either humbled you a bit or really was a milestone?
So the pandemic got me into online facilitation. I had some very cool, good, big clients, lost them all. And went into online facilitation, build a community. So I had this very first client when I just started, and it was a European institution. I was organizing and facilitating a summer school for them. It was easy money, so to speak, but I realized that it held me back from everything that I actually wanted to build. So I sabotaged myself out of that client. And the moment where I lost it, I realized that, oh, fuck, it actually subsidized everything else I did. So I had a talk with my parents how our family would deal with bankruptcy. And the interesting thing is within 3 months, so I had 3 months of savings. I could pay myself and all the systems and stuff. And I knew that after 3 months, I have no idea where the money will come from. Found a client that was then the first client for the agency that I'm running today. So it was actually the biggest gift to lose this client. And then now the last pivot was to close the community and really focus only on the agency work.
It's important though. I've had points where I know where I wanted to go, but it was so hard letting go of these things. Not just because they were familiar, but just very often because this is how I made money for many years. And this one I haven't figured out yet.
And because people tell you things that are not necessarily true. The reason why I didn't update my website was because I had a landing page for each of the podcast episodes. So changing the design of my website would have meant to change 300 subpages. And then I decided, okay, just delete all the subpages. Poof, all gone. But SEO and all these things, and I'm like, people don't find my business because of the SEO and these. If it slows my business down, then I rather say no to that. And then I had a point where I wanted to hack the system. So I was so after the statistics in terms of download rates for the podcast. And I thought, if I cut down the long podcast episodes into 2 with a part 1 and part 2, I basically double the download rates of my podcast. So I did that. And it worked for a while. until I realized that it really sucks for the listener. So what I did was I asked my editor to stitch the podcast episodes back together, and I deleted 50% of my podcast episodes from the platform, which meant that I lost 50% of my statistics. And I'm still at the top 5% of all podcasts worldwide. Why? Because I've been around for long enough.
Yeah. Is that the game? Just sticking around with this?
Yeah.
For a long time?
The very most podcasts stop after episode between 7 and 25.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
This is number
100.
Game. No, I'm still under 10. This is recording under 10, just for
Yay.
people listening. But with a lot more to come. When it comes to podcasting, a lot of people want to start a podcast. As you say, it's very easy to start something. It's easy to start working out. It's easy to start making some money. It's hard to actually make that last for a longer time. A lot of people will be thinking, should I start a podcast or not? And you would say,
it depends on the reasons why you want to start a podcast. If it's for your own education, it's because it's a passion. It's because you either want to dig into the topic deeper and want the accountability, or you want to create a network and use it as a platform to connect to people. If it's to make money and to become a thought leader, don't. It's not big enough of a motivation, I think, in the long term.
If you do want to become a thought leader, what do you do then?
You pick a topic that you really care about and you do the work, and then whatever suits you best. But I think just the desire to become a thought leader won't get you there. I think you do need the curiosity, the passion, the grit that gets you to work longer. Who said it? I think it's Naval who says that if you make your passion your business, then nobody can compete with you, because what feels like fun for you will feel like work for those who try to copy you.
I don't know how I think about that. People say this, go follow your passion. I have a feeling for a younger generation, maybe it's good just to grind it out for a while. Learn some basic stuff first before you do that. So have your passion on the side. Keep it a weekend evening thing.
And some people think that, or say that it will become your passion if you just do it long enough. The more you learn about things, the more excited you get about it. And I had moments where I'm like, why the hell did I pick facilitation of all things? How did I end up here? It's not me. I think I'm one of the most passionate facilitators. I call myself a facilitation evangelist because I know all the nuances and all the different angles on how to look on the topic. It's fascinating. And I think it grew over time.
Yeah, so make passion your business or find passion in your business. The point I was making before for a younger generation, and again, I'm generalizing a little bit, but I think if you start off with, it's got to be passionate, everything has to be fun, you're not going to like running a business, because business comes to a lot of stuff that's just not that much fun. I don't particularly enjoy having to call hotels, rearranging the flights, because I was going to fly to Singapore when I need to change those. But then they send me to booking.com. Booking.com says go to the hotel. I don't like dealing with that kind of stuff. I wish I just had somebody to go arrange this for me. But it's particularly when you're a bit younger, learn to do all the crappier sides of things as well, so you can actually make money doing it. Because a lot of people are very passionate, very creative. They're broke as can be.
It's also being smart about it. So what are the things that you can outsource to someone who is maybe passionate? There are people who love the details. If I have to fill in a form, it's a disaster, because I get distracted and I'm so upset about the form and I cannot focus, and then I mess it all up. And there are people who love it. So having an assistant to do what I'm really not good at helps me do what I thrive in, and then focus on making money on that. I think especially as a solopreneur, we have to focus and do the work what we're really, really good at, and outsource all the rest. It sucks energy and time.
Yeah. It just burns you out. I don't think you'll last very long if you did everything yourself. Outsourcing. You're working on some new stuff now. Unprofessionalism.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
I realized that I get really annoyed by all kinds of, air quotes, professionals who have this polished appearance. I know it all. Everything sounds the same. And what it creates is a distance, a human distance. So I'm missing the uniqueness, the edges, the wrinkles. And realized that our label of professional needs an update. What is called professional It's maybe not professional nowadays, especially in the AI age, because it's not about knowing it all, having all the answers and appearing in a certain way. Then AI would be the most professional of all. I think today we create trusting relationships by being human, by admitting that we don't know, by asking questions, by being a little bit more ourselves. Yeah, so I wanted to write a book, started to write a book, pop science book about professionalism, unprofessionalism, the history and all my great ideas. And I had a kind of a game theory model in my head that I wanted to put in the book and all my brilliance. And then realized that nobody would read it. I hired a book coach and she was like, Myriam, I'm a bit disappointed. When I hear unprofessionalism and I see you, I thought that you would do something that is more off-road. So I ditched that and then shocked her by the next idea. So now I'm writing a novel. I'm writing a business novel that comes in the format of a choose your own adventure book. So it's basically a workshop between two bookends, where the reader is in the shoes of a manager and then has to take the decisions whether to be or what kind of professionalism they want to choose. And since this will take forever to write, I started a podcast around unprofessionalism, interviewing corporate rebels, artists, academics, interesting people about what it means to be unprofessional today.
I absolutely love that. Now, part of me then thinks maybe the world just wants something like a templated book that is predictable, but maybe this is exactly what people want, something that's surprisingly different. Either way, you're going to find out. Yes. You're going to find out how this works, right? Very nice. Shall we do lightning round? Got some great questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
The lightning round.
Are you comfortable?
Yes.
What is the app that you use the most outside WhatsApp?
Spark, my emails.
Book or podcast? Which one would you ditch?
Podcast.
What is a habit that really changed your life?
Running.
What's the best advice you ever given?
I was given.
Yes.
Forget about all of them.
What's the best advice you've ever given then? I'm going to ask you that one as a bonus question.
I don't know.
What's a car you would like to drive if you could only drive it for one day?
The Mazda M1.
The Mazda M1?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, sporty little car. What do you do when you get stuck in your own head?
I go for a run.
How far do you run, by the way?
How far?
Because you did a marathon the
I
other
just
day.
finished my first marathon.
Congratulations.
42.
Do you do that every time you get stuck? You go for a marathon?
Not for a full marathon, but for a run it usually helps. Or at least a walk.
How do you start your day?
Fresh air, push-ups, breakfast, Duolingo.
Duolingo, what's the language you're working on?
Dutch.
Netherlands.
Yeah, finally.
Last one. Working solo means ...
Freedom.
I'm in it for a bit of fun, freedom and flexibility.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing it for. And I have a clear definition of what that means for me. And I want other people to have the same because I think it's very doable. I just think you got to work for that. Anything that's worth having is worth fighting for. I could talk to you for hours and hours. We'll probably have you on a follow-up episode at some point. But before I close it off over here, where can people find you?
LinkedIn. I'm an open book on LinkedIn, Myriam Hadnes. Otherwise, my website is workshops.org.
Workshops.org. I'll leave the links in the show notes. Go check Myriam out. Myriam, thank you so much for being here with me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
As always, before I leave you with my thoughts, I just want to say a massive thank you to Myriam Hadnes for being part of this episode. Make sure that you connect with her. I'll leave the links in the show notes. And while you're there, you can sign up for the Solo Source newsletter where I share ideas like this on a weekly basis, directly delivered to your inbox. So here's my little thought I want to leave you with. What are you willing to give up to get what you want? Sometimes we end up building something which at that time made sense, but then after a while we figure out that that's not where we want to be. We actually want to be somewhere completely different. How do you then deal with that shift? Are you willing to leave that behind? Because maybe sometimes people hang on to things a bit too much, which might get in the way of getting them to where they need to be. Anyway, that's just a little thought for you to think about. Make it a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode.